but I don't see a lot of people really sticking it. They really don't put the plan into play. We start with high aspirations, but why is it that humans and our psychology doesn't necessarily allow us to achieve in the financial sense? I want to unpack that today. I want to help you really come to a place where you're clear. Why is it? Why the fuck am I not making the progress that I really think I should be? And you want to look over your shoulder and ask yourself, Mark, I'm 25, 28, I'm 39, I would have at least thought I'd have the house half paid off. You know, Mark, I would have thought by now that I'd have cash in the bank or at least a couple of investment properties, but I'm just not making progress. Now, I see the exact reverse of this, and this is why psychology around money is a pertinent conversation. Just the other day, I had a comment come through from the site. He's a 26-year-old young man. He owns a furniture removalist business and asking him for advice on how he purchases his 5th investment property. Now, what is startling about this man's career is he's only 26. The business is small, but his psychology around money is very, very different from most. And this is why you and I are planting trees and wanting those roots to germinate. I want to help you, want to assist you in that change. It's not enough to continue to focus on strategy alone. If it was just strategy, you'd already be worth millions. There's something going on in the background. There's some blockages somewhere, whether it's your raising as a child, whether it's your beliefs around money, whether it was the school teacher saying you're an idiot, you won't amount to anything. There's something, honestly, that's holding you back. If you haven't achieved what you set out to achieve, let's now question what those hallmarks are. So a couple of things today. I want to start with a conversation about how is it, Mark, that I put a plan into play. You know, let's be clear that successful people are measured, we are deliberate, and most often quite pragmatic. That means that it's not just coincidence. You don't get the money and then decide the plan. The plan comes first, the money comes. Now, with the plan, remember, we've got to build some skills. We've got to add value to you. We've got to really help you draw out the best of your abilities. But today's subject, it's really about how do I set the wheels in motion? How do I step out this next 5, 10, 15 years to win? It's not enough just to put it out there as, you know, maybe coincidence or luck or chance. That's bullshit. We both know that. Weak minds speak of circumstance and problem. Strong minds, we speak of cause and effect. So it's deliberate. And I want you to be clear about that too. You know, my father has got no idea what I do. None. And I remember as a kid saying to him, Dad, you have a bit of a plan. When I say a kid, you know, sort of 19, 20, I was finishing my apprenticeship as a builder. Nah, son, it's all here, it's all here. Now, my dad and I live very different lives. This is certainly no criticism, and I'm not sandbagging the guy. He's my father. But at the same time too, his ability to achieve has been somewhat very different to mine. I'm not saying I'm God, I'm not better than him, but I've certainly followed the greats and the leaders before me. Folks, there is nothing new in this world. There is nothing new. But if we can take what they've learned, captured, and we can distill that, if we can draw from that pool of wisdom, fuck, I don't want to waste 25 years learning stuff. I want to take the best of what they've got, put it into play. So let me begin. Like, this is what I've seen and this is what I've come to know. There are some parts and aspects of life, right? And I'd start to think carefully about how you're going to do this. If you're at work right now, grab a piece of paper, and a pen. If you're going to save this and watch it later tonight, do the exercise. I would highly encourage you to sit with your hubby, your de facto partner, girlfriend, put a pen to paper over a glass of wine. Ask yourself, what are the key pieces of life? Now, I sort of tend to think that you've got one I call growth. If you are not growing, you are dying. The only way you can level up in money, the only way you can be a champion of life is to continue to go back to the well. That's reading, that's seminars, that's listen to podcasts, smart people with the results, not wannabe dickheads, but genuinely putting markers on the wall. Growth. Next one, you want to think about your physicality. There's something very important when you have money. Yes, you can buy back health. You need to preserve the physical being. We'll talk about that in a minute. Next one, I put finances. Finances are important. Without it, you're not going to get anywhere. I love it when people say to me, Mark, money's not important. Yeah, bullshit. It's right up there with oxygen, right? I love that. It's their way of, dissuading their responsibilities. Next one, relationships. Very important. Friendships, intimate, father, mother, other. Relationships, very, very important. And then lastly, career. I think that you and I need to be fulfilled as people. I think even more so, we need purpose. If you have money and no purpose, you're a very unhappy person. You become bitter, twisted, expectant, and entitled. And you don't want that. You want humility, you want to have purpose, you want to have substance to your life and fucking depth as a character. So I see that those sort of 6 elements are the way to do that. So, and the reason I say that is that you've got to start somewhere. What I want you to think about carefully now is, what does it take to grow and sculpt a life of greatness? This is no pump up class. You've engaged, you want to know what the greats are doing. It is no coincidence that Elon Musk is a multi-billionaire. It's no surprise. This man was very clear, specific about what needed to happen. He wasn't just going to be some designer of rockets. The guy, you talk to him, he is a very intelligent man, but he knows how to execute supremely well. So when we think about growth, you want to start to target the idea of, how do I need to improve? How can I change? Who do I want to be? In growth, you should be thinking about, what are the new peers that I need to invite? There's really only 2 ways that you change. It's read books, learn, or switch up, level up the peers that you hang around with. Oh, but Mark, I don't have those kinds of circles. I don't have money. Well, get over it. Start to introduce yourself. Start to pierce those types of circles. How do you do that? Fucking grow so that you've got something to add to the conversation. I had a conversation with a couple of buddies of mine just last week, and some very big hitters in that lunch. 7 guys, and some of them doing extremely well. Now, I'm invited to that circle, clearly. I have some value, but some of those guys are worth 450 million and are great human beings, great men. They're patient, good fathers, fantastic husbands, and terrific people. So growth is important. I need to go to the table with something. Read, listen to podcasts 2-3 times a week. Read at least 2 nights a week. Put the kids to bed, even on the train in the morning. There's a way that you can grow. So what is the measure of that? Who am I going to be? On paper, you should be starting to articulate now, what kind of character? Do I have integrity? What are my family values? What are my morals? What the fuck do I stand for? Why am I here? What's important to me as a person, as an individual? And start to sculpt. I have pages and pages and pages of goals. And you might go, gee, that's a bit weird. Well, I'm only just being led by the greats. I'll give you some idea, and I write them in hand, not on a computer, for the simple fact that when you and I write something, your brain has to process the data 3 times. So every single morning, every single week, I sit down and I read these things. And it talks about the portfolio, where I'm at, what kind of cash flow I want, travel, things I'm doing with my daughter, buying a house, renovating a house when she's 13 years old, Kentucky Derby, putting a significant amount of new homes projects on the ground this year, my manufactured home portfolio to hit net rev of $1 million net per month, which we're well and truly on the way. Dirt bike trips with the boys. I need that. I need to, enjoy and embrace freedom. Maldives, already done that this year. Ticked with my little girl. Purchase another pub. Moving on in terms of growth, being better at forgiving people that deceive or cross my path. Just silly things like that. Land bank, the size of the land bank at Navasat. Podcasts, even here. One of my parks was struggling this time last year. I want to lift that. LVRs, talking about the portfolio, where I want that to be. It's quite specific, folks. And by the way, they're laminated in my shower as well. You have a shower, you sit there, read and stare at them. And again, it's starting to integrate them into your daily life. I don't want to hit 50, I don't want to hit 45 and go, fuck, I'm losing time. It's too hard to try and chase your tail and speed things up. But if I'm planned and I'm deliberate, it's surprising what you can achieve in a year to 3. And it's really nice. At the end of each calendar year, I will go away for 2 nights, no communication, no emails, no team, no conversations, not even family. And for 2 days, I will sit there in quiet peace and literally go through and tick off what has been achieved in that year. You've even gone alcohol free for a period of time, doing a seminar, working out in the gym, certain goals and targets there, going on a hunting expedition with some friends in New Zealand, racing another car competitively, going to Venice in Italy, but arriving on a super yacht. As big as you and I can dream is as big as you and I can go. So these are sort of the things that I reach for. And it's no coincidence. People say you're lucky. Fuck lucky. I'm not lucky. I just put in the work. And the work is what other people have done before me. So when it comes to physical, let's just talk about the spokes of life again. If it comes to physical, you might turn around and say, listen, I want to get my boobs done. I'm going to commit to that, save some money. Mark, I want to lose 4 kilos. I want to put 5 kilos on. I want to get fit. I want to have a resting heart rate, of 55. Mark, I want to get something done. I have no trouble with vanity if people feel more confident in their skin by changing who they are. Knock yourself out. But don't make any mistakes. Do not fool or kid yourself that the plan is unimportant. That I'll get the money and then I'll decide what I'm going to do with it. I'll give you a good example. A dear friend of mine, she's a sweetheart, and I was talking to her on Sunday, and she says to me, Mark, specific, it's a good example. Mark, I don't know where to invest my money. And I said, that's an interesting question. I said, is it a substantial amount? She said, yeah, it's a pretty good sum. She said, but I don't know what to invest in. She said, I've looked at shares, I've looked at property, I've looked at this, I've looked at, some money in an investment trust. I just don't know which direction to go. And I said to her, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, do you know where you need to be? She goes, well, not really. I said, so when you ask me the question of what should I invest in, I feel like you're looking for the transport. Is it a skateboard, bike, bus, car, scooter? Versus, what the fuck's the destination? How much do I need? What would sustain me? What would be a great return? Where do I want to be when I'm 35, 40? Let's have that conversation. And now the investment style or asset class will make so much more sense. I hope you get that. You can't put the cart before the horse. Without a horse, there's no purpose for a cart. So we need to get the plan together. So physical. You might talk about, Mark, I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. I just want the strong mentality of being physical and vibrant. When I was in my 20s, I was unstoppable. I didn't need much sleep. I want to change up my diet. I want to sort of stop eating sugar, lessen the amount of coffee I intake. Well, that all comes down to physical. Write it down. The most peculiar details, I think, are invaluable because you're fessing up, what I really want, what I stand for in life. And I have to say, this is what would differentiate myself from my father. It's all here. Yeah, like all that other shit in your head too. The argument with your missus in the morning, stress of work, the bills and the Telstra phone account on the fridge. It's all just stirred up in a pot of emotion versus it's marked out. I've recorded it, I've captured it. This is what I stand for. This is what my life is going to be. And I think that is the only approach that you'll see successful people take. It's not coincidence. It's not fucking luck. It never is. Finances. This is a subject that I think is very valid for us right now. Over the next coming months, you and I will talk more and more and more about finances. How do I get more responsible with money? How do I build out my revenue streams? Not stream, streams plural. How do I get good at the sport of money? How do I invite more of that shit into my life? How do I command more? How do I sell time for more? How do I do deals? How do I get a really clever portfolio together that is spinning off $131,000 a year in cash flow that could easily replace my wife's income? She can step away. I can do a half week and then focus on what do we need to do next. Finances should be something that's quite easy to capture down. It should be a case of, I want a portfolio one day. I want to be a full-time investor perhaps. I want my children to be educated around the subject of money. I want them to have a savings account of $5,000 by the time they're 12. I want my children to be purchasing a home with me in their early 20s. I'm not mum and dad bank. They're going to save and I'll contribute what they save dollar for dollar. I had that conversation with my daughter 3 weeks ago when she's 13, 14, purchase a home, renovate it, we'll lease out the rooms on a room basis. I said, that pays the mortgage. And she understands banking enough. She's 9. Banks lend you money, but they want a profit, Dad. Finances should be very easy for you to articulate. You want to think about cash flow from a business per month. When you think about cash flow, never talk about gross. Always talk about net. You can only bank and spend net. Finances. Mark, who do I want to support, help? My mum, take care of my dad's mortgage. Buy my dad a new ute. Buy mum a holiday on a cruise. What are those financial aspirations? And be detailed. Be really fucking detailed. I would also say it will serve you even more if you become quite selfish. This is going to sound strange. But I find too many of us take this logical, noble pathway. Oh, I want to be a charitable person. I want to have, Mark, philanthropic, enterprises. That's terrific. Go build schools. I've done that. Go put money into hospitals in third world countries. Done that. You need to consider other people as well. But at the same token, for you to get the best out of you, you need to make this personal as well. What do I want? Do I want a beautiful walk-in robe full of just, gorgeous heels, lovely dresses, nice coats, but when I do go out with my hubby or my partner, I feel special. Mark, I want to spend, $300-400 a month on pedis and manicures. I just want my fucking hairstyle once every fortnight. I want to invest in me. I want to feel great about me. And I've probably let that suffer. I've had a child, I've had 3, and I just don't make the time, nor do I allocate finances to really take good care of myself. And that's a very important piece, because if we don't value us, we don't value much else around us either. So I think that inward perspective is just as strong as the outward. So ensure those finances are very, very clear. They're spelled out in great detail. I talk about parks and what they want to earn, how much percentage we need to lift our net profits, what sort of money I want to earn from projects, investments, other stuff. I've got debentures and things like that. I've got money in REITs, what sort of return I expect from REITs. Purchasing another park by the close of May, purchasing a new boat this year and a price tag to that. Going to Europe, doing this, so stuff like that. Like even my golf game of all things. But again, finances must be clear and it must be systematic. Think about that 5-10 year window, and then I would challenge you to start pushing the bar out to 20-25 years. You're going to live all of that. And with money, you will extend your life 25 years from now, I can assure you. No question, the science and technology is already happening. Relationships, again, another great rich point that you and I should focus on. When you think about relationships, I would start with you. I touched on this a second ago. But with money and with finances, what am I doing to invest in me first and foremost? Me, you, I. What am I going to start with? Am I doing more work on myself? Am I buying a seminar? Am I going somewhere? Am I going to visit some guru, Joe Dispenza's, people like that really stand out from the crowd, that are true craftsmen in their field? What can I learn? What can I take away from that? How will that benefit me, my family, my health, my outlook? My view of the world. Relationships. Talk about your kids if you have them, nieces, grandkids. Who are you showing up as? Am I more empathetic, more patient, more kind? How do I need to foster those relationships? Years ago, my sister used to work for me. Kind of a mistake. And I realized one of those relationships I had to go back and repair. I need to improve the relationship with my sister. And over the last 18 months, that's what I've said about. It's terrific. My mum and I had an argument, quite a heated debate about 4 months ago. And I'm still working at that relationship, repairing and making good on that altercation. I think relationships, if you don't have relationships in your life, I think you live a very hollow victory. I think money will sadden your life if you are not rich in relationships. In fact, I shouldn't say I think, I fucking know. Because I've certainly been that way too. We've become so fixated on a career, traveling so much that's suffered. And that feels very soulless. So my suggestion is really build out them relationships. Ask yourself, what new circles do I need to break into? I'm always looking for new friendships. Who are some people that are either at my sort of point or beyond, hopefully? And how do I apply myself in to their lives? Join them, invite them for dinner, take them out on the boat, go away for the weekend, break bread. Like spend time, not a coffee, time, a night or two away. About 3 weeks, I'm inviting another family up to Hamo, and we've got a beautiful villa on the water, about an 8-bedroom house. And we're all going to pile in there, kids and all included. That's a great way, relationships, in enriching your life. To have the money, but then to also have the joy and fulfillment that comes from others. So I encourage you, again, push the limit. Who do I need to be? How do I extend my circles? How do I invite more peers, colleagues into my loop that are, doing well or doing great things at least? Career, really the last one. Career, that should be another easy one to map out for you. What's in there? What do I need to think about? How do I need to sort of upskill? If I have a boss, a superior, a supervisor, how do I need to show up? Do I need to be a little bit more cooperative, less sharp? Do I need to be more of a team player? Again, step that out. What skills? If I go back to uni, if I get something of this, if I can now convince, my executive team I'm worthy of that promotion. Who do you want to be in that field of career? Because this is not just about a money-making exercise. It's about the fulfillment, growth. It's about you being more as a person. And money's a beautiful thing, but it only complements a wholesome, well-rounded human. It only complements. It doesn't fill in voids nor gaps or holes. Don't ever think that. It'll certainly access a beautiful life, make it even greater. But these fundamentals is really, they're sort of the keystones of how you and I are as people. And that can only benefit us. So when I talk about these as well, just remember, I think that the underlining principle is that you and I want to grow and be more over time. We want to improve our physicality, improve our finances, improve our relationships, improve our career. And I will say this, the highest ROI in life is you. The highest return on investment in anything you do is going to be the individual. So I encourage you to step this out, take the time. I've said to you before in past podcasts, I sit here 1-2 nights a week for 3 hours at a go. My daughter's in bed, and I do a lot of deep thinking about this stuff. And this, another reason it's all written in pen, is that I'm always adding to it. You'll notice there's actually some light coloured blue. That's me taking a pen and going, righto, work in progress. I'm constantly adding and upgrading it. I'll see something, and I'll be like, yeah, shit, that's a good idea. I went past a hotel about 6 weeks ago in Rome, and I thought, shit, I'm going to stay there next time. Little things like that. You're constantly upgrading. And to extend that even further, we're getting to the real meat today. We've got enough time. I say to you, start to visualize that enough that it becomes your sub-reality. If you're really doing this and you're doing this work well, you want to make sure you're spending at least a morning, maybe 2 mornings a week, 20 minutes before the kids wake up, just visualizing, what is that? My growth, my physical, how do I feel show up? How do I feel about me? Am I strong? Am I vibrant? Am I robust? My career, am I fulfilled? Do I feel like going to work now? I've got a challenge ahead of me. They've tasked me with a whole new project in this IT business, Mark. And fuck, I'm alive, man. I feel like I'm at my best when I'm under pressure. And I'm enjoying this. I really feel lifted by their trust in me. My relationships. Mark, I've had to go back and do some housekeeping, man. My husband and I don't get along so well. And I've had to realize, maybe communicate better. I'm going to go and listen to some podcasts and read books on communication. I've got heaps of them here. What do I need to improve? And then start to set those markers in motion. I'm going to be more tolerant. I don't want to bust his ass when he comes home. I don't need him time to take out the rubbish. Maybe I can do it, or the kids can do that. They can plug in too. Maybe he's tired after work. Maybe I should be a little bit more tolerant of her. She has to put up with the children sometimes more than me. I work Saturdays. She's wired when I get home after work on Saturday afternoon. If that's the case, think about, how do I step this up? How do I do this better? How do I operate at a higher level? And visualize that. So here's the inner machine mechanics of what I do. I love boats, I love vessels. I'm in the market right now, looking to purchase another one. inspected a beautiful vessel on Friday morning just last week. But I sit there now. I've taken that plan. I know where I want to be. There's a point on the horizon. Somewhere out there, 25, 35 years from now, I know exactly where I want to be. And now I start to fashion that in a way that my mind is already working on that. And folks, I can tell you right fucking now, this is not hocus pocus. This is how I've achieved what I've done. And the greats before us have done the very same thing. You know, when I go through, I think of the experiences, who's on the boat, what sort of joy, how does it make me feel as a man to be able to provide that place, that space to enjoy? Kids, voices, jet skis, snorkeling, scuba, you know, drinks in the afternoon. That's a terrific way to live. And I just go through the motions. You know, how does that feel? What are those days? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday afternoon? And I'm bobbing around the Sydney Harbour or the Pittwater. You know, what sort of experiences do you want to include? And you get very fucking clear. This is the boat, this is the style, these are the clothes. I can feel the wind. I can smell the staff cooking some chicken on the barbecue. That's how specific you want to be. And you become a fucking machine at achieving what you want. This is a skill. And if you continue to ply in and hone this skill, you only ever improve. And the reality is this stuff starts to happen and you start seeing fucking ticks everywhere. It's like, holy smokes, I didn't realize that. You know, I've read 3 books this year, it's only June. It starts to happen, folks. You're putting that plan in motion and you tell the fucking universe, I'm serious. I'm not leaving until it's done. Whether it be boats, you know, it's helicopters. You know, this is kind of fun. I put this little book together only about 16 months ago, post my divorce. And you couldn't buy these new Ferraris then. After COVID, there was none around. I put it in there and I'm like, fuck, I'd really love one of those. I've sort of earned it. I feel like I'd had to have some good news post-divorce. And then I get a phone call. You can call it a miracle, call it whatever you want, coincidental, I don't know. The Ferrari dealership from Sydney rings me and says, we got a car. The guy's not going to complete a sale. You can buy it, but you have to buy it today. No gimmicks. If you want to put a deposit down today, it's $150,000, fly down tomorrow. And that car sits in the garage today. So quite ironic. You can call that miraculous. I call that being very fucking clear about what I stand for. And I think it's time that you take it seriously too. I see too many people frustrated and cheated by life, but they're their own worst fucking enemy. They do not take the time to sit down and say, what do I want? What do I really want to sculpt and craft? If my life is to be elegant and special, what do I want that to be? They don't take the time. And quite frankly, that's the mistake right there. Helicopter. You know, I've got a machine very similar to this right now, and I'm about to do my turbine endorsement late October, and I've already ordered this machine. So this was a fantasy. This was a fantasy 20 years ago. I went to the boat show in Sydney and saw this thing sitting there on a dock, an EC-120. I was like, that is so James Bond. And I thought, if only. And after buying a machine now and being a helicopter pilot for, I don't know, 5-6 months strong now, this is obviously the next move. It's a very powerful machine. But to think of even having the conversation of placed an order for that, it's ridiculous. It's insane. It's not fucking luck. It's a plan. It's being serious about life and employing the best you fucking got to realize it. That's what it's about. Kids. Many of you know I just love kids. So I sit there and I literally just imagine, I visualize children. I imagine the pram, the little scooter, walking, playing at the beach, daycare from time to time, you know, swimming in the ocean. But it's a Tuesday, it's a Thursday morning. It's not weekends only. You know, and I think that children are a very, very special part of life. They make us better, they make life rich. And I sit there and I just think about, you know, what that feels like to be a father. You know, that warmth, that special, that responsibility. You know, they're very, very special things. And again, I know that motion. I know that plan is in play. I've got to find a partner first, but that goes without saying. But I think it's jet skis, holidays, skiing holidays, getting away, having more children. I've got one little daughter, but adding to the file, I think will be a very, very special experience. And again, I know in my heart, I know in my mind, it's done. I know it's already done because, quite frankly, I see it, I visualize it daily. Holidays, I love skiing. And I love skiing with friends and family and what have you. I don't know how many white Christmases we've done now, and it's all been on my accord, not pretending to be important, not for a second. But a chalet Christmas in Maribel is not cheap. You're talking about 125,000 Aussie dollars per week. And just recently we had an 8-day stint in Maribel, the world's largest ski resort. It's 7 valleys connected by one ticket. You can go anywhere, 200 kilometers in one direction. Stunning. But I paid for it, and everyone had a blast. I think there was about 8 kids among 3 families. What a riot. Was it 8 or 9 kids? 9 kids among 3 families. And it was an absolute party. We had a blast. Parents having afternoon drinks, kids are skiing all day, charades at night time around the fire, marshmallows, just an epic, epic time. And they're the sort of things that I put that together, that plan, and then manifest by sitting there going, how does that feel? What's the experience? Who am I? What does that person stand for? What are their values? Who do they show up as? What do they give? How are they sharing? How are they dragging other people with them along that pathway to success? Houses. I don't necessarily buy houses international anymore, but I do Airbnb. It's just much more convenient. There's a few in here about partners, maybe a few too many pages about partners, but nonetheless, you can get the drift. It's about being clear in what you want to pursue. So, I would suggest today the takeaway, the number one takeaway, is put together a map of what you want, a roadmap. Because quite frankly, folks, you know this already. Life happens. And if you don't have a plan, it's going to get away from you. Any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for letting us into that book and your list. I consider it quite a privilege to be able to see that. And I can tell from the people in the chat too, they're feeling the same way.
Good.
You taking that list into the shower, I think that's quite a symbol of, someone that's really going there. We don't do that. I don't know anyone who does that.
It's just blue tack to the wall, laminated. And quite frankly, I'll read half a page and just go, yeah, okay, on target. Yeah, I've got to do a bit more about that. I think what happens is that people sort of get really spooked and anxious about this 30-year plan. My house cleaner 2 weeks ago walked in here, 26-year-old kid, sweet girl, and had a fucking meltdown. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what's going. I don't know if I should go back to Sweden. I should stay here. I don't know. My boyfriend here. I don't know what I should be doing. I just said to her, what do you love? Do you have anything like that? No. And you can see the turmoil in their head. If you start with this and you record it down, it's captured. It's there. It's out of here. It's not mixed with emotion. It's not mixed with tension. It's here. And that becomes a blueprint. So the rest of my hard drive can go to work on other things. But if I leave it all inside there, all just kind of like mixed around a melting pot, there's not a lot of clarity in that.
Yeah.
And I felt sorry for her. I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't tell you what to do, babe, but think about this. What do you want in life? What do you love? Set out a plan. And you can see how people become so anxious. But you can also see how they become so regretful at the same time. They hit 31 and go, fuck, this is not the life I signed up for. Or I'm 46, I've got no money, and the tension in my marriage is fucking flashpoint. Like it's hectic. They haven't designed it. They just floated through and somehow ended up at a dead-end road. Fuck, what do I do now? There was no map. There was no forethought.
Exactly. The floating in the wind.
Oh.
Floating and letting life blow you around. You mentioned at the start that your father, he didn't do this. He had it all in his head, as you said.
Correct. Yeah.
So you
bless his heart. Like he's a lovely fellow, but he's a smart guy. But intelligence doesn't mean fucking rich.
So you didn't grow up with these principles. You didn't grow up with this.
That's fucking books, man.
That's it.
You just do the work. That's all it is, man. It's not fucking science.
can you recall at what point did you get the idea to say, you know what, I'm going to put this in the shower?
Mm.
Can you recall what point in your life?
I don't recall the point in my life. Great question. I would say that I needed to be more familiar and more constant with it. And I was like, well, where am I? So I actually put a copy on the mirror that I shave in, and then a copy in the shower as well, laminated, and then in my diary. Because then I just knew there's 3 key points of the day that I'm going to be around.
Okay, so you identified that, this needs to be this needs to be with me the whole day. And
All the
how
time.
am I going to do that?
All the time, correct.
And that's what went on.
And to sit down with this, that's really sort of 2 times a week, and that's only 20 minutes. My little girl doesn't wake up till sort of 6:45, and that's plenty of time for me to sneak up here to the office and sit down with that 20 minutes and just literally flick through and truly just sit there, deep thinking, quiet time. How does that feel? The boat, this, that, the people, it's just insane. We're doing this, we're going snorkeling, we've got the tender, we're going here, we're doing a bonfire on the beach that night. You get so juiced. People say, how do you get motivated? It's not motivation. It's knowing what you want. How can you not jump out of bed with a big fucking life ahead of you? It's got nothing to do with energy. I'm tired. No, you're uninspired. You're directionless. You're not fucking tired. I look at that and I just go, there's not that much time to get it done. I find that so liberating. Life is precious. Why the fuck do we just not even do this? Why are we teaching this at school, man? People go through life unfulfilled in a bloody job, end up as tax cattle. Why aren't we giving them some idea that this is the roadmap? Here's the runway. If you want to be excellent in life, truly elegant in life, this is probably where you're going to start. It's deliberate. You're going to get the mechanics right.
When you said, you're not tired, you're uninspired. What about burnout? What about those that are consistently exhausted?
Yeah.
That are so focused on getting through the day.
Right. It's survival you're talking about.
Survival.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 things. You asked 2 different questions in one statement. What about people that are burning out? Well, people that are burning out has gone one step too far over the line. You need to delegate. You need to build a team. You have enough profit in that business that you can start to really, disseminate that workload. Yeah, you won't get there on your own. You will never do it on your own accord. You will need to really pool talent and then be enough of a leader that you're growing, they will stick around. If they see you as a leader, they're like, shit, she's amazing. I fucking love her ass. They're not going anywhere. They will serve the cause. But you've got to be growing as a leader. That business will only grow as fast as you. It never grows faster than the CEO. So when you see people burn out, they're pushing too hard as an individual. They need to grow as a leader, as a business person, and say, righto, I don't need a full-time staff member. I can get a VA in bloody Bangladesh. I can get a VA in China, do this and that. That's the smart way. That's the intelligent, more resourceful way to do it. Now, when you say to me that people are trying to survive through the day, that's uninspired. They're working a job, clocking on, doing the absolute bare fucking minimum. And here's what I do know. Life doesn't pay very well when you're looking at the minimum. It doesn't pay well at all. You're going to have to go the extra mile. You're going to have to do a bit more for that boss. You're going to have to do a bit more for yourself. Have to do a bit more at night time and read and be fucking tired. Life's not about minimum. It's just scraping through. That's a shit way to be. You've been gifted and trusted with an incredible way of being. Fucking life by itself, the portal of life, is beyond value. Treat it as such. You're going into bare fucking minimum. Who are you fooling? You're only robbing yourself. I see this a lot, particularly post-COVID, with the lack of inspiration, the lack of tenacity that people have towards their job and career path. It's like they want to make 300 grand a year but work 4 hours a day. Really? Working hard is not forever. It's a season, it's a period. You got to put the hard yards in, put it down. For me, that was probably about 7 to 9 years of really hard, nose to the wheel, traveling 160, 170 days a year, getting shit done, projects in every fucking corner of the nation. It wasn't pleasant, but it was necessary. And I look back now and I'm like, what a great, I'm so proud, so thankful that the dots lined up. You get to spend time, you drop your kid off at school, pick it up every day. You piss off to Europe for 3 weeks. You spend as much as you want. You've done the work. Makes sense? But a lot of people aren't willing to do that because they're just not too sure where to begin. And they roll up on Monday and they're tired, annoyed, uninspired, disenchanted, disenfranchised. Oh, well, fuck, I'll just do this week. That's not going to get you there. You've got to be really clear about what it is that I truly, genuinely want. And those 6 pieces, I think, round out a good, wholesome human being. It's not just money. This is not about fucking money. It's about relationships. It's about taking people with me. It's about me being more, looking after my physical self. That's important. You know, it's pretty hard to buy back health when you're 60, overweight, hideously high blood pressure from the stress and the machinations of work and enterprise. You've got to keep them in check.
Wow, yeah, we're not going to know our potential if we're just focused on the minimum.
You'll never get to your potential based on the minimum. People, I think a lot of us need to have a good, hard look inside and say, am I showing up as the best version of me? Because if you can't have an application to your future that you're proud of, you already started on the wrong foot. It does take energy, it does take work. I'm not going to fucking pretend it doesn't. But it's worth it. You know, if I could calculate every drop of sweat into the way that I live and the joy that I get from a daily practice of freedom, those fucking drops of sweat, man, are worth millions each. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Oh, it's easy for you to say. You're there. I started with nothing, man. I started with 0, self-made, left school grade 10, 16. I had nothing, and I made a lot of money errors. So it wasn't like I had this tailwind. You know, my parents are pretty clear about money. They were bloody hopeless, to say the least. All right, Mark, I hate my job, I can't quit, as I have bills to pay and a family to feed. I'm scared that I will fail my family, a few typos there. How can I build the mindset to overcome this, get on my job without putting my family at risk? Okay. That's pretty easy, Joseph P. Dude, you want to become quite disciplined in the way that you change your thoughts about you. It's about reading, my friend, podcasts, putting yourself in circles of people that are better than you. You know, I'm scared that my family will suffer. How do I build my mindset? You become very fucking robust, my friend. Bulletproof, indestructible. You become so fucking good at being strong, at being resilient, at being disciplined. You read, my friend, 3, 4, 5 nights a week. You just get fucking great at knowing about money, about, you know, determination, about business. I can promise you, my friend, it somehow resonates. It eventually sticks. You throw enough mud at the wall, some will stay there. Reading's not about capturing every line. Don't get that. It's more about what is the general purpose of the book. And eventually you develop this wisdom over time. So that mindset will become stronger. Putting your family at risk, if you build you first, that leader can lead the family. That leader will lead a business. That leader will lead change. So I don't think your family's going to be at risk as much as you think. You're going to make very tactful choices after you start to really build yourself out. And that might take you 8, 12, 15 months, my friend. But it's worth it. Challenge yourself. I'm going to smash a book every 3 weeks. I've got a mate of mine, he's in his late 50s, he reads 2 books a week. 2. That is an inspirational soul. I'm always shouting brekkie or lunch for him. He's an absolute fucking rock star. And I learn so much from him. But again, put yourself in those networks, those circles. Grow, bring value. And then there's a fair exchange when you sit with someone like that. Jody N. Everyone in my family criticizes me for wanting to make money so I can provide better for my kids. I feel like I'm not supposed to be financially happy. I always find myself trying things to make more, but never follow through because of criticism and rejection. Ooh, okay. Jody, that's an easy one, my love. Start with that. Fuck them what they think. Even with their family, you still love them, but it's not their life, it's yours. I would say map that out, you more than anybody. You take steps forward, and then you don't follow through for fear of criticism and rejection, in your words. If that is blueprint is hard copied, stuck to the wall, to your diary, in your phone, you're sitting there now reviewing aspirations, you don't really give a shit what the people think. My love, there'll be lots of haters, there'll be lots of lovers. I think for me, there's more haters than lovers, and I'm okay with that. But they don't get to see what I see. They don't get to live the way that I live. And that's a fucking gift. They're the ones that are frustrated. Write this down. Grab this, write this down. Hate only ever comes from below, never above. They can hate all they fucking like, but they'll be miserable. You get a choice. Ben, I'm in my 20s and I'm committed to financial freedom over the long term. How do I build the mindset and knowledge around money to make this happen? Similarly to Joseph, Ben, I would say just build you, particularly if you're in your 20s, just keep building you, my friend. Seminars, books, podcasts, grow, learn, new peers, new colleagues, people that challenge you. Get in those circles, my friend. Even as a chat room about money, but you know that they are doing what they say. That is a great environment for you to be around, to learn and to be inspired by. And start to make some decisions about what that looks like in your 20s. That plan for me didn't really come to fruition until my late 20s. I'd sort of read enough by then, hit a point, was like, shit, I need to capture that and document it. If I do, I've got a far greater likelihood of making it happen. So you're well ahead of the curve. And when we talk about late 20s for me, it was really that sort of 31 to probably 37, 38, where money really started to roll through the doors. It was not unusual to make 430 grand out of a deal and then have another development finish 6 weeks later. It was 1.81 million. They were big victories. And when you put that into a machine and you're doing that on a 12-month rotation, it doesn't take too long to get ahead. Smart with that money and not just spend, but invest it. And when I say invest, either land bank, buy property, manufactured home parks, anything that had a passive cash flow attached to it, I was certainly across. So I took large lumps and then made it into passive income, which means I didn't have to work anymore. Ryan B. Mark, I'm 22. I've been saving since I was 17, putting aside as much as I can. I have 29,000 saved now, but I don't have the knowledge of what to do with it. My parents say I should travel and have fun, but I think I'd prefer to invest and make the money work for me. What do you think would be best? Dude, I can't really pass comment on that one. I'm going to say, what do you love? What's important to you? That's a kind of life question. If you've got 29 grand you want to invest, well, let's go find the research and the information to support a smart investment. 29, I could put in this, put in that market, put in some stocks. I could turn 29 to 44 pretty quick. But if you are wanting, you're only 22, if you are wanting to travel and get about and enjoy life, you could travel later on when you've got some serious money behind you. I can only give you thoughts. I'll never advise or give you specific what to do. You make those choices. Alicia, Mark, are there any books or education you recommend on building money mindset? Yeah, look, there it is. There's heaps of stuff. Joe Rogan, Grant Cardone, all these guys online speak of money mindset and how that's important. Remember, money is not just strategy alone, Alicia. So I'd suggest, go to the bookstore, online, go to Amazon, what books are around money. Have a look at the ones that have got high numbers of purchase or great reviews. Another guy that you may want to think about, he's an absolute champion of money. He's a multi-billionaire. He's made over 300 millionaires personally, is Ray Dalio. D-A-L-I-O, Ray Dalio. He's a very wholesome soul. He runs the largest hedge fund on the planet called Bridgewater. He's probably in his late 60s now. I've read 4 or 5 of his books. Just a star. He's an absolute guru. He's a thought leader. This guy's amazing. But he's also so generous. He shares that information. He brings his staff into investments he knows are going to work. And 300 millionaires is nothing to laugh at. It's massive business he's got. Luke H. Mark, do you believe this lifestyle is obtainable for anybody? I work hard but never seem to get closer to my goals of financial freedom. Well, Luke, it's a great question. Are they obtainable for anybody? No, they're not. Are they obtainable for anybody that believes? Yes, they are. And I think what this is doing, that closes the gap on your belief. If you sit there and doubt, fuck, you're wasting time. Go get a job at Macca's or Gloria Jean's. If you are genuine about, Mark, I stand for this, I will not repeat the mistakes of my parents, I'm going to make change, I'm doing it this way, I want to have money, I don't want to be a slave, I want to be free, I want to be conscious of how I want to live and raise my family. My friend, it just comes down to your belief. And the more that you start to articulate it, document, read it, you are now bringing to reality. the more you stand for clarity, I know what the fuck I'm doing. It becomes pretty easy. The steps are kind of there versus I'm shooting golf balls into the dark. The more that you and I spend time here arranging ourselves and collating the thoughts and steering our energy in one direction, steering our intensity in one fucking direction, you're going to make it, provided that you believe in that. But at the moment, people are looking in every other direction but just one. And I think that's the danger. And that perhaps is what you've done to this point. I'm not quite sure. So, any further questions, or thoughts? No?
Absolutely amazing value.
All right, great. All right, I forgot to do the intro bit, so sorry. Sorry, Scott and team, apologies. Now, outro. Thanks everybody for your time. I hope that you received a ton of value. I really do. I want this for you. This exercise for me is not about making money, rather showing you how to get there. I'm very blessed in the way that we've done the work, we've done the yards, and now this is more of a legacy for you. But I see a lot of your comments and I appreciate the feedback. I really want to see you excel. Please leave your number one takeaway in the training, leave it on the site. What was your number one takeaway? What was the one thing that sort of clicked and made you think, I've got to get on with this? Our next training is Thursday, 12 midday, day after tomorrow. My suggestion is be at all of them. The reason is that you'll pick up little pieces from each session and eventually they start to stack and fill in the entire picture, the entire canvas. We've got a growth summit coming up. If you want to make some inquiries, I've got a one-day training event, and I think that's around the beginning of November. My suggestion is start making inquiries. I'm pretty sure those dates have been finalised in the last 24 hours. If you want to share your training on Facebook, you'll go into the draw to get a one-on-one coaching session with myself. I would do that by all means and re-emphasise, listen, we are very, very clear about getting this together for you. Realise, folks, that money is such a beautiful thing, but the work process in the meantime, it's important you get the right steps in the right order. So the reason that we're here is to hold your hand. I want to see you excel. And quite frankly, I trust that you're going to put it into play and do great things with this. And that sort of stands a testament, that we've had an impact, we've done something of value and cause. So I'll see you Thursday. Have a great afternoon. Be well, happy investing.